discussing how one person's culture has helped to shape Australia as a nation, it is important to first establish a definition of culture and understand that different people may have different beliefs of what culture is.
The set of rules and customs which dictate a group of people's existence and day-to-day workings and lifestyles.
This definition was provided by Matthew McKay. Matt was born in the nation's capital, Canberra, and lived there for the early years of his childhood before relocating to Wollongong with his family.
European heritage, including English and Scottish heritage, and then Indigenous heritage of Australia and of Guia specifically, which is the north shore of McKay, which is more commonly known as Botany Bay.
Before European colonisation, the Guia region of McKay was home to the Aboriginal people of the Guigal clan.
The Guigal people were said to be the guardians of the sacred white clay pits on their territorial land, now known as the Kurnell Peninsula. Historical records show that the Guigal people were probably the first Indigenous Australians to witness Captain James Cook's landing at Kurnell in 1770.
Through observations of the first inhabitants of Australia's eastern coast and McKay, Cook's findings provided a basis to later establish a British colony at Botany Bay. Almost 20 years later, the people of Guia felt the effects of their encounter with Europeans when the first fleet arrived to establish a penal colony. Although McKay was eventually rejected as the chosen site, it was strongly considered based on Cook's journal descriptions and testimonies of its vast and amazing botanical array. As far as shaping the Australian nation, a shift towards reconciliation between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people was happening by the 1990s. The area of Guia in McKay National Park is promoted as a place for all of the Australians, be they black or white. This is a special place to reflect upon our shared history, as the histories and lives of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians first became entangled in Botany Bay, McKay, when Cook came eye to eye with the Guigal people. It is, of course, very important to never forget the effects that British colonisation had and continue to have on Indigenous people across all of Australia. As previously mentioned, Matt also has English and Scottish ties. In shaping Australia as a nation, both the Scottish and the English have helped to champion our great agricultural heritage. When the fauna they introduce, namely cattle, pigs, sheep and chickens, as well as the flora, have been the lifeblood of Australia's abundant produce and wine industries. The Scottish were also at the forefront of the establishment of schools and roads. The Scotsman has even been credited with starting the Great Australian Gold Rush of 1851. It is not just biological heritage and culture that frames our nation. Subcultures play a major part in our diversity.
Permaculture, environmentalism, those subcultures of people trying to do right by the environment in an age where a lot of systems are going against that.
Both permaculture and environmentalism are instrumental in shaping our country, as each Australian should have, to quote Matt, an ecological responsibility and social justice responsibility where everyone is included and defended, and the habitat which sustains our lives is kept intact for future generations. Matt is lucky enough to work in a field where he can spread his passion of the importance of caring for our habitat while also keeping the traditions and Indigenous bush foods of our first Australians alive and spreading them into the mainstream. This is achieved through the establishment of gardens and learning centres in local areas such as schools, where he is able to educate the future generations of Australians. The hundreds, if not thousands, of cultures and subcultures that make up Australia is what makes our country unique. Our different beliefs, principles, opinions and values are the backbone of all Australians, and it is these tools which help shape our nation.
Because, the world's full of really, really fascinating cultures, and the more we can learn off each other, the better it's going to be.